Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, joined today by the Trashman, who has another very engaging topic that he's decided he wants to talk about this week. Fantasy stars that you'll be looking to avoid in your 2020 redraft leagues. Another just gift of a search engine optimized topic given to us by our marketing and branding overlords, but they've certainly been doing a good job. We appreciate everybody new that's tuning into the podcast here on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever it is you're listening, and all the people who are also watching on YouTube, Periscope, etc. If you're listening on any of those platforms, if you can make sure and subscribe and rate, review, do whatever it is, thumbs up on YouTube, all of it helps. Trashman, what the hell's going on, brother?
I'm good. I'm kind of tired. I had a late dinner with a beautiful girl who's far too young and far too beautiful to deal with me. But
how does this keep happening?
I don't know. I think I'm easy to be around.
Do you tell her at the very beginning how frugal you are? Or does that come out later?
I mean, I'm not frugal with the gifts that I give.
I guess that's true, but that gift giving time only comes a couple times a year. What about the rest of the time? Whenever you're going to want to be digging through the trash to go out to dinner and stuff.
Oh, food is the one thing I'll spend copious amounts of money on. I will go to Uchiko 2 or 3 times a month if I can.
Now, if only you'll buy a working mobile phone so she can get in contact with you to make those plans. Okay.
Android for life.
Okay. Well, that could be why half the time it is never working. Let's get into let's do like we talked about. Let's do a mock draft simulation to start out the podcast like we've been doing. I've updated the cheat sheet to version 2.5 over on the website, and I'm not sure that 2.5 has been uploaded here into. Let me just look and see if it's uploaded into Fantasy Pros or not. Regardless, we'll go through and do one. It randomly gave me the 8th position in a 12-team PPR league. Trashman, is that about where you'd want me to pick? Do you want me to pick from somewhere else? What do you think? 30 spots you like or hate? Or
I want the 3 spot. Yeah.
All right. Pick from 3. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. We'll be drafting against the expert consensus at Fantasy Pros, the composite ADPs of ESPN, Fantrax, RT Sports, and Fantasy Football Calculator, the best ball composite of best ball 10s, and FFPC, and also the pre-draft rankings from Yahoo, ESPN, NFL.com. Okay, so I do have 2.5 PPR in here. We'll see what happens with this. What's sure to be an Ezekiel Elliott draft, Trashman, at least from ones that I've done so far. So let's see. So we got to go to filter to here. Ezekiel Elliott will be our top pick here with the number 3 overall. And then this gets interesting, Trashman. It looks like this is going to be a draft where we're sort of forced to take an early tight end, which I hate, but it looks like they've sort of fallen here to the middle of the 3rd round. Since it's recommending taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'll bet you that Travis Kelce will be gone, but I certainly don't want to take him next. We're going to start out with looks like Kittle and they took that problem away from us. Kittle and Kelce both went in the couple of picks there before the beginning of the 3rd. So we'll go with Odell Beckham here, who we have news about, Trashman. Fully healthy, Odell Beckham. Certainly something there.
Fully healthy. Hopefully quarterback can get him the ball.
Yep. Let's see what happens here. Looks like Le'Veon Bell. I continue to think Le'Veon Bell in the 4th round is just fine. How comfortable are you with him there?
I'm very comfortable with that. There are a few other running back positions as safe as his in the league.
Of course, with the cheat sheet, if you follow the 3 simple rules at the top of the sheet of paper, an expert quality draft is guaranteed and a well-rounded draft. So far, 2.5 is really giving us a good one here from the 3-hole. We'll take Devontae Parker with our second wide receiver pick as pick 5.03. I do have some concerns about him, Trashman, due to a tool that I have just now put the finishing touches on, or I'm still putting the finishing touches on, but I have the structure of it made, and I'm going to I'll show you guys here shortly and talk about a few of my initial takeaways from this tool. But a little worried about Devontae Parker.
That's okay, because we have AJ Green.
To get AJ Green here next. And let's just see. I hope. Oh, it looks like Kareem Hunt's going to fall to us here in the 7th round, too. Interestingly, Kareem Hunt, Trashman, saying that he would love to sign a long-term deal with the Cleveland Browns, which is a Kareem Hunt dynasty owner in every league that I play in. Really makes me want to jump off a cliff. I mean, my whole point with wanting him so badly is he's still so young, 24, 25 years old. Get him on a new team next year. He's going to be the lead back in the top 5 back in fantasy. I do not want him to stay with the Cleveland Browns. And I'm eating it this year. I'm eating it on the front end by going after Kareem Hunt right now because I want the all the fun and excitement there on the back end whenever he goes to like Tampa Bay or something next season. How would you feel if Kareem Hunt were going to stay in Cleveland? Like, you probably wouldn't be as high on him in Dynasty as you are currently, right?
Probably not as high, but honestly, I think he could maybe win that starting job eventually.
With the next pick here, we have a choice between Darius Slayton and Keyshawn Vaughn. I think Darius Slayton's going to stick around here despite what the numbers are telling me here. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Keyshawn Vaughn because if Darius Slayton's not available, I do think Emmanuel Sanders will be. Yep, it looks like Emmanuel Sanders will not be, but Darius Slayton will be. So this draft is going excellently so far. I like the balance of it. Glad that we waited on tight end and weren't forced to take one earlier because right now we can take Jared Cook here at the end of the 10th round, pick 10-10. So we'll fill out Jared Cook here. We'll get Deshaun Jackson on board. Now, another guy, we have Robby Anderson ranked after Deshaun Jackson just because I have Deshaun Jackson pushed up a little bit artificially because I want to make sure that we get him here in the 11th round.
I think Deshaun Jackson might lead the Eagles in receiving this season.
I think if he stays healthy, I think he will too. They have a lot to they have a lot of players to get the football out to, right? But I think Jalen Reagor has a lot to learn, and I'm not sure he's going to come on as hot as some people are saying. I know Adam Kaplan had the report earlier this week that he thought he was going to lead that team in receptions, and I think that I love Kaplan, and I know I plugged in he is there with Philadelphia. I think it's a little bit far-fetched. We get Aaron Rodgers here at our quarterback at the end of the 12th round. It's crazy how this stuff continues to go like this. It looks like the cheat sheet's wanting us to take a backup quarterback here, so I'll take Daniel Jones. That's fine. And then we'll see who's left here at the end. It looks like it's going to be probably Brandon Ayuk, who looks a little bit more appetizing now, Trashman, because we do have now Deebo Samuel, who looks like he's going to have a Liz Frank foot procedure, which is never any good. So this fantasy football team here using the cheat sheet version 2.5, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. The quarterbacks are Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones. The running backs are Ezekiel Elliott, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell, Kareem Hunt, Keyshawn Vaughn. The wide receivers are Odell Beckham, Devontae Parker, AJ Green, Darius Slayton, Deshaun Jackson, and Brandon Ayuk. The tight end is Jared Cook. It is as simple as following the 3 simple rules. On the very top of the sheet of paper, an expert quality draft is guaranteed. The RosterWatch cheat sheet version 2.5, now available at rosterwatch.com. The epic cheat sheet that changed fantasy football forever is back only at rosterwatch.com. Just follow the 3 simple rules, guys. It could not be easier. The RosterWatch cheat sheet only at rosterwatch.com. All right, Trash Man. Something else available at rosterwatch.com I wanted to kind of show real quick. And I will share this screen because I'm not done with it yet. But you can, we like showing the people how the sausage is made, even though Trashman doesn't eat much sausage, because Trashman stays a little bit kosher. Or do you call it kosher? Kosher's more.
I mean, I don't dig on swine, as Samuel L. Jackson's character from Pulp Fiction would say.
All right, so this tool is awesome. I do it every year. Basically, what it is we go through and we get our DB rankings, our DB coverage rankings for each cornerback and each nickelback in fantasy. Then we go through and we look at the alignments for these, or in the NFL, and then we look at the alignments of these wide receivers, and then juxtapose an NFL schedule onto a grid like this. So these are the guys that I haven't gotten to, right? I haven't gotten to Minnesota through Washington yet, but I've done the first half of teams, Arizona through Miami. And basically, just based on what we know, clearly we can't project in advance, this far in advance, what the exact cornerback wide receiver matchups are going to be. But what we can project is who these guys are likely to see on a plurality of their routes. The data is available to us pretty easily. Sports Info Solutions, PFF, et cetera, where these guys are lining up, who traditionally shadows, if they do shadow, which wide receivers generally in the slot, which of these guys projects to be the nickel corner, sides of the football field, alignment data, and general trends. You can look at them on a case-by-case basis for all these guys. And even if these wide receivers won't be on these cornerbacks for all of their routes, in these football games, or maybe not even in a majority sometimes. There are a lot of teams that simply don't shadow. But we've done this for a few years, and looking back and back testing it, it's generally been pretty solid with these guys who are going to be on these others for at least a plurality of the time. And so when we look at this, let me just make a copy of this so I can so how do I make a copy? Do I just duplicate? Because I want to sort these and then talk to you, Trash Man, about the guys who have the easiest cornerback wide receiver matchup projection schedules to start, and the guys who have the toughest ones. And now, as long as I'm doing that, I might as well stop the screen share because we don't want to give away all the secret sauce. But here's the guy who has the easiest schedule, Trash Man, at least so far. And that it looks like it's going to be Marvin Jones due to your guy, Kenny Golladay. We've seen that whenever Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones are on the field at the same time, there's been at least one team that has taken who at that point in time was their best cornerback, skills-wise, in Xavier Rhodes. Now, Xavier Rhodes, of course, now in Indianapolis Colt, and now shitty. But when he was good during the Rhodes closed time, they would put Xavier Rhodes on Marvin Jones and not on Kenny Golladay, the Minnesota Vikings, twice a year. We have John M in the chat asking if you got the hat for free, which is the exact John M. This exact same damn thing that I asked Trash Man before we started this. I said, "What does that even mean?" He doesn't even know what it means. His hat says team what MSD.
MSD.
I'm like, what if that's a horrible hate group or something like? What if it's something terrible? I don't
think they would have that much style. I mean, it's nice.
Is that hat stylish? Oh, it's corduroy.
Yeah.
Jesus. Nah, that's definitely not a hate group. That group's real granola crunchy, I bet. Marvin Jones.
I think it's like an investment capital group or something like that.
Sure. Look, man, Marvin Jones, the only really tough matchup on his whole entire schedule that we can really write in, he gets it twice with Jair Alexander. And the only reason it feels like he'll get Jair Alexander is because if you look up the reports from last year, they liked getting the Green Bay Packers like getting Kevin King on they liked getting Kevin King on Kenny Golladay because they felt like that was a better size matchup. So Jair Alexander, who's more of a better kind of shutdown corner, going to be on him. But other than that, I mean, he has a rookie. He has to start out the season. He has Johnson, the rookie that the Bears took, I believe, at the beginning of the second round. Byron Murphy in week 3, who would be the number 2 for the Arizona Cardinals, who definitely wasn't good last year when you look at the yards per coverage snap and things like that. Janoris Jenkins, who's now a Saint, who's completely fallen off. You want the opposite side of Marshawn Lattimore there with that thing. He'll have his bye week in week 5. In week 6, he'll have a rookie, now a first-round rookie, but a rookie nonetheless in C.J. Henderson when they take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The very next week, he will have another rookie, a first-round rookie that was very much thought to be overdrafted by the Atlanta Falcons, and A.J. Terrell. Week 8, he'll have Xavier Rhodes, who he is, the aforementioned Xavier Rhodes, a shell of his former self, who he just sat down and called son at least once on Thanksgiving that I can remember. And there were other big games that he had against Xavier Rhodes. Another wide receiver, another rookie that he'll have.
Marvin Jones is a little bit scary to me just because, I mean, like, it's been 2 straight seasons that he's ended on injured reserve.
I understand, but let me go through the rest of this. Just can I go through the rest of this? Because in week 9, he'll have another rookie in Jeff Gladney, who was taken by the Minnesota Vikings, sort of as as they try to replace Xavier. He's going to have 3 rookies in this span from week 6 through week 10. He'll have rookie, Xavier Rhodes, rookie, and then Ronald Darby, who's is probably the worst corner in the league right now. Then after that, he'll have Eli Apple, who's really not that good in a new spot in Carolina. After that, he'll have Bradley Roby, who was simply just not good last season for the Houston Texans. He does have a little bit of speed as far as his actual pedigree, but Bradley Roby, not very good. After that, he'll have Kyle Fuller, who is a good corner. He'll have Kyle Fuller for the Bears, who is a good corner. He'll finish off finally with Jair Alexander in week 14, which is tough. Week 15, he'll have Malcolm Butler, Tennessee Titans. Is he still good? He's getting up there. And then in the final,
Marvin Jones.
Right. In the final week of this fantasy season, he'll have Sean Murphy Bunting. I believe that is, yeah. So Carlton Davis will probably be on Kenny Golladay on that as they face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I kind of think Tampa Bay, whenever you dig into the numbers of it, when the first matchup tool comes out, we're going to be a little bit more wary of that Tampa Bay pass defense than a lot of people are when they're just basing it on last year's finish. They've done some things, and Todd Bowles has coached up that group to be a dominant run defense front. I think with some of the pieces they have on the back end, Sean Murphy Bunting, Carlton Davis coming into his own, and then a third corner and Jamel Dean, who with the speed aspect. Jamel Dean's a 4-3 guy. If you want to move Sean Murphy Bunting into the slot at that point in time, they become a little bit tougher to throw on. So Marvin Jones up here at the very top of the list. I also thought what was really interesting. So just your take on Marvin Jones, just in general.
Well, like I was
should
saying,
we be looking at getting him? What do you think?
I think you can get pretty good value on him. I mean, like I said, he ended the last 2 seasons on injured reserve with leg injuries.
Yep.
And he's 30, or he'll be 30.
That makes me feel so old, man. I remember sitting and talking to him at the combine about where his girlfriend wanted him to get drafted to. And he's like, I don't know, man. Like, we just want to move somewhere. He's just such a young kid. He's 30 now. It's wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's in a good position. I think if Matt Stafford finishes the season, like I was saying in my post I made yesterday, I think Kenny Golladay with the full season with Matt Stafford is going to be a top 5 wide receiver in the league. So I feel like Marvin Jones has a good chance to return a lot of value if he can stay healthy.
Of course, the article Trashman's talking about, you can find at our website, rosterwatch.com, along with all of our premium tools and services in our community there that's starting to kick up a little steam and kick up a little dust again with a bunch of their dynasty questions. So definitely love hearing and seeing from all you guys over there. And if you're not a pro member at rosterwatch.com, please go and give it a look. Now would be an excellent time to sign up with some of these new tools I'm getting ready to put up, and some of the stuff we put up already. Trashman, it's getting to be time. We're in that point of the season where I'm having to get all of the draft tools ready. Believe it or not, you're about to have to start making some draft tools too. Okay.
Hopefully it all comes to fruition.
Okay. Here we have in the second place of at least the first half of these players that have gone so far. He was in last place last year. One of the reasons we were completely off and we had a complete fade of Robby Anderson. His schedule looks dynamite. The only real question I had when looking at the Carolina Panthers, okay, Robby Anderson didn't play in the slot much last year, right?
No. DJ
Moore didn't play as much in the slot as I originally envisioned. Whenever I looked at it, I said, boys, so how do we and this is one of those teams that's really hard to project who's going to be on who. It's kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Where Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, they all played almost 50% of their snaps in the slot. So how are you going to project who's on who? It's kind of really hard. It's almost just kind of like, you kind of put the number one guy on Tyreek Hill, and then you go with the size speed stuff for the other two. Like, who's the fastest? You put that guy on McCole Hardman. Who's the biggest? You put that guy on Sammy Watkins. It's a hard, no hard and fast way to do it with those guys. But I found it a little bit hard to break out these Panthers guys. But with DJ Moore, whenever we look at let me just look and see what his slot rate from last season was. So I've got David Moore, I've gotten Jason Moore, I've got DJ Moore. He was only in the slot 15.7% of the time last season. Do you find that a little weird?
Not really considering. I mean, I feel like Curtis Samuel.
I feel like he was in the slot a lot more than that. No, and so do I. And so that's kind of how I went through it. I said, look, we're probably going to get the big alpha corners on DJ Moore, who are not necessarily the big speed corners. I think we'll get the speed corners on Robby Anderson, right? And I think if your speed corner is your alpha corner, and your other corner maybe is a corner who's maybe not a speed corner but has a little bit of size and a little bit of length to him, even though DJ Moore is sub 6 feet tall, but he's kind of the biggest out of all those guys, right? I mean, Robby Anderson's as thin as a pencil. So so I feel like my reasoning for each week for who's going to see the plurality of coverage snaps against Robby Anderson is pretty good here. And he only really has a couple of tough matchups. One of the ones that we talked about earlier, sort of Tampa Bay, their speed guy, Jamel Dean. Looks like he'll be tough from a speed perspective. Robby Anderson will also get what's interesting is he'll probably get Marshawn Lattimore when they face New Orleans, because I would think that maybe Janoris Jenkins would be the matchup they'd like better for DJ Moore.
For Moore,
yeah, just get a little bit more speed on Robby Anderson, and but they only have to face those guys once in the regular. They'll face the Carolina Panthers will face the New Orleans Saints once in week 7 and once in week 17. He'll also get Jair Alexander once in week 15, but. Other than that, I mean, he gets guys like Trayvon Mullen, probably Desmond King, Robert Alford, the two rookies, Terrell and Johnson, in 2 consecutive weeks. He'll get Terrell twice, because I think it's very, very unlikely that the Atlanta Falcons won't have Isaiah Oliver on DJ Moore. So he'll likely be getting a rookie for 2 straight weeks, and then he'll also get Desmond Trufant, who is now who is Trufant? Oh, the Lions now. So he's no longer even with the Falcons, but he has not been good. Brashad Breeland, whenever they play the KC Chiefs, has not been good. And he also gets Ronald Darby on this schedule. If you get Ronald Darby on this schedule, you're going to be pretty high up. Your thoughts on Robby Anderson this year? Can Teddy Bridgewater do anything to support that guy?
I feel like it'll be a boom and bust season for Robby Anderson, and really for all those receivers. I feel like they're more dynasty plays this season. I don't feel particularly great about any of them in season-long leagues as far as consistency goes. With Teddy Bridgewater, I guess DJ Moore would be the closest thing to that. So Robby Anderson, he'll have some really great games. Yeah, but I'm not really interested.
It's going to be hard week to week. Maybe in best ball, right? Maybe that's such a cop out. But I mean, it's like when we get into the season and we're talking DFS, we talk about a play. It's like, maybe in a tournament, but it's just a cop out. It's kind of saying that you don't have any conviction in it, but it could hit. Okay. I'll just read you the names of the other few guys here. And something interesting to mention, Trashman. I know I've only done half of these guys so far. I'll get the other half done and get this up at Roster Watch for our pro members by the weekend, in case you want to be, staying indoors and doing mock drafts this weekend, which definitely sounds appealing to me.
If you're in Texas or Florida.
Yeah, because it's so hot outside right now.
That's right.
So with Kenny Golladay, he's in the top 8 of this group with like 30, Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones both have pretty good schedules, which really makes me like Matthew Stafford and makes me want to move him up on the cheat sheet above Daniel Jones. He needs to be above Daniel Jones, doesn't he? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are the things. These are the things that we discuss as we go through. There are things that just kind of that became very clear to me just now. It's like, why on earth am I taking? I'm going to make that change right now for version 2.6. I'm going to get Matthew Stafford above Daniel Jones. We're starting getting a bunch of Matthew Stafford. Okay. Probably as our quarterback too. Okay. Let me just read you out some of these names though before Kenny Golladay, and you just give me your quick hit thoughts for great schedules. Michael Gallup. Do you care? He's gonna have a good schedule. The more and more you look at it, the more and more you realize that CeeDee Lamb's going to be playing a ton out of the slot.
Yeah, no, I feel like Gallup is the third dog in the race for the Cowboys right now. I feel about him like I kind of do about Robby Anderson. He'll have some good games, but I don't see him having the year that he had last season or close to it.
Anthony Miller. Easy
I like
schedule.
Miller. If Nick Foles is the quarterback, I really like Anthony Miller this season.
Because of
receivers.
Right. Yeah,
I think Miller plays out of the slot about 60% of the time.
More than that. Anthony Miller plays out of the slot.
Was it more than that last season?
Last season it was. The only reason I'm saying that is because this shit's all real fresh on my mind. 77.7% of the time out of the slot last year. So, it's an easy schedule for Anthony Miller. It's actually, Trash Man, it's an easy schedule for Allen Robinson too. He's actually number 5 on this list of half of these so far. So if it holds up like this, it stands to reason he could be, top 10 out of the 70 or so players that we're going to be analyzing here, which is appealing, I guess. But for the same reason I like Matthew Stafford with these easy wide receiver schedules kind of on tap for him, I'm not sure I can get behind Mitchell Trubisky or Nick Foles and anything other than key quarterback and super flex.
I mean, I'll say the Bears offense kind of revolves around Allen Robinson.
Other guys kind of up here that are being drafted highly. I mentioned Kenny Golladay. His schedule looks relatively easy. And you guys can go to the site and look at the rest. But just a couple of guys with really hard schedules, Trash Man. The hardest schedule of all, when we project it out, looks to be Robert Woods. Everybody he sees.
Schedule?
What?
The most difficult schedule, you said?
Yeah. Everybody he sees is tough. The only relative matchups, he'll have Fabian Moreau one week, which is borderline. I mean, I think Kyle Fuller, we talked about earlier, is pretty good actually, but that's kind of rated out on our scale as a borderline one. The only easy one he really has is in week 15 when he'll go up against Pierre Desir, who is now a New York Jet. But, man, he's got Chidobe Awuzie, Darius Slay, Tre'Davious White, James Bradbury, Richard Sherman, Kyle Fuller, Byron Jones, Quentin Dunbar, Carlton Davis, Richard Sherman, Patrick Peterson, Stephon Gilmore, and Shaquille Griffin, all on the docket. And with some of those guys, it's like, if you're not getting Shaquille Griffin, you're getting Quentin Dunbar. It's like that's a tough schedule for old Bob Woods this year, man. And I know people
good news for Josh Reynolds owners.
It is. It's good news for Cooper Kupp too, probably, right? Good news.
Maybe
could be good news for Tyler Higbee and just the fact that they could be using more two tight ends.
I think Tyler Higbee's going to have a great year anyway.
Yeah, I do too. All right. Speaking of great years, let's talk about some fantasy stars that have had great years in the past that you are looking to avoid this season in fantasy football.
Okay. The first of those is going to be Mark Andrews of the Ravens.
He's too expensive. People talk about how there's a big 3 at the tight end position. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, if we've forgotten all about Zach Ertz, I realize that Dallas Goedert's there. I realize that Miles Sanders is going to siphon off some of that competition. But Wentz and Ertz they have a connection unlike anybody else, and not that I'm getting any Zach Ertz, not that I'm getting any Mark Andrews, not that I'm getting any of those. That was a close call earlier with that simulation, Trash Man. It felt like I might be having to swallow a bit of a bitter pill, but having to take one of those tight ends in the third round, I felt bad about it.
I mean, with Mark Andrews, I feel like
I don't want
never
anything
had
to do with Mark Andrews anywhere around that there.
Yeah, you have to draft him too early. He has never had a game with double-digit targets.
Yeah.
So far in his career, and he's come up with single-digit PPR points in 6 of the games last season. It does help that Hayden Hurst is no longer there, but I think it's just too rich for my blood right now.
Yeah, I get it. It's too rich for my blood too. I mean, that's a pretty low volume passing attack. I understand that. Lamar Jackson loves him. I understand he's a great player. I thought so, dating back to having to watch him, be an Oklahoma Sooner in college. I mean, it's like they got a bunch of Sooners on that team. A bunch of Sooners up there in the AFC North, really, right?
Oh, a bunch of Sooners everywhere.
Yeah, I guess so. Kind of
like saying they're a bunch of Buckeyes everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. We need to get back to having a bunch of Longhorns everywhere, trash man.
No, good luck with that.
All right, what's up next?
We make them soft down here. Courtland Sutton.
Good.
Just with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Himmler. He had 125 targets last year. I don't think he gets near that this season.
Brutal schedule too, trash man, because you got to figure, I was thinking about this one too. I don't think I think Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy play outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll get moved. Jeudy will get moved to the slot a little bit, but they'll play outside, and you got to think the teams are going to roll the kind of the alpha number one corner onto Courtland Sutton, right? That just kind of seems like the way it's going to be, unless there's a shift towards the end of the season. I did with some of these division opponents with Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, like when they face, let's say, the Chargers, and they get Chris Harris and Casey Hayward. I put Casey Hayward on one guy for one matchup and Chris Harris on the other guy for the other matchup, right? So it's kind of even it out, because we truly don't know exactly how that's going to go. But Courtland Sutton, I mean, he gets Adoree Jackson, Joe Hayden, Carlton Davis. He gets an easy matchup in Pierre Desir in week 4. Then he gets a murderer's row of 2 games going against Stephon Gilmore and then Byron Jones. After that, he'll get the Chiefs, Charvarius Ward. Then he'll have a bye week. After that, Isaiah Oliver, which should not be that hard for him coming out of the bye. But then moving forward from there, so it'll be Prince Amukamara, Casey Hayward, Marshawn Lattimore. And then at the very end of the season, the final 2 games, Tre'Davious White, and then either Casey Hayward or Chris Harris. So it's like, that's a tough schedule. I mean, that and those are cornerback matchups that we could. I mean, it's really hard to project that far ahead, and some of those guys could get hurt and stuff. But that's tough. And those are predictable matchups.
True that.
On top of everything else,
Michael Yeager,
KJ Hamler, like all these guys coming in. What does Michael Yeager say? Trash man was social.
I could social distance based on the hats bill. That's how I do it.
It's like that.
it hits as soon as it makes contact.
What do they do with that thing like over in Europe, like that thing that they do for the morons where they give them a hat, they treat you like a moron, and they make like little PVC pipes come out 3 feet on each side in the front and the back, so you physically can't get within range of people. I mean, why not set the fucking tables 6 feet apart? What are you doing this for? I mean, you can't trust people.
I don't know. People
put this goofy hat.
People get too close anyways. People are close talkers around.
I've always said people are fucking punishers, trash man. I've been telling you this for years. People when you meet them, they fucking punish you. They get up close. They talk to you about shit you don't care about. They talk loudly. They get too close. See, I was way ahead of my time.
I feel like Larry David's character on Curb Your Enthusiasm was partially based on your social interaction.
I was ahead of my time. I was
social distancing for the past 2 decades.
It truly has been a feature of my adult life.
Who'd want to get close to trash? Oh, you'd be surprised.
You didn't hear Trashman's story earlier. He had a date with a date with a girl that's far too young and far too attractive, which is always the case. It's far too cockamamie. You have any more of these cockamamie players you're looking to avoid, stars that you're looking to avoid in 2020 leagues? This ever so interesting topic that we made sure to leave at least a few minutes to talk about at the very end of the pod.
Well, he's Tyler Boyd. And somebody I'm looking to avoid this season.
Is it just because you think T. Higgins is good?
T. Higgins is good. A.J. Green is back. All the games that Tyler Boyd's best games last season, where he had 60 or more yards, all came in losses where they're playing come from behind. And I just don't see him playing that role this season. I mean, I think the offense is going to be better, one. And I think A.J. Green is the guy they go to that they'll go to in high pressure situations for the most part. I just don't. Tyler Boyd won't be, in my opinion, the safety valve that he has been.
Yeah, Michael Yeager again he's doing a lot of talking here in the comments, but what he's saying all the guys you're talking about are guys that I have in my dynasty leagues. Like these aren't necessarily players that. Whenever I talk about these schedules, this is just for this year, like, so for dynasty, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Trashman has good reasons for avoiding Tyler Boyd, though, I think this season and kind of moving forward. Right. If T. Higgins is the eventual, I don't know. What do you think about Tyler Boyd from a dynasty perspective? Are you also sort of in a void at this point? How old is Tyler Boyd?
Kind of depend. I think he's probably 26, 25?
No, he'll be 20. Yes, he's a little younger than I thought. He'll be 26 on November 15th.
I mean, it kind of all depends.
I think he's fine in dynasty.
A.J. Green does. I think he'll be okay, but I just don't think he's going to have the monster year that he had last season.
Just since I have this cornerback stuff on my mind, one thing to keep in mind there in the AFC North is these nickel corners have gotten better. Cleveland has gotten Kevin Johnson. They're going to play him at the nickel. That's we remember him as a first-round pick a while back. What the Ravens are going to do against Tyler Boyd, and that is probably put Marcus Peters on A.J. Green and move Marlon Humphrey into the slot. That's what they did last year. Was they moved Marlon Humphrey into the slot. So he'll get him. And then also when you play the Steelers, you got to do that twice. And if you look at the numbers behind Mike Hilton, what he was able to do last season, and also, once the Steelers got Minka Fitzpatrick, they got a lot tougher against slot wide receivers as well. So AFC North, not the best place this year, certainly worse this year for slot wide receivers than it was last. Do you have any more of these guys that you're looking to avoid?
Well, we've talked about a couple of them kind of by happenstance. One of those is Michael Gallup, who I'm looking to avoid, where most people are drafting him right now. I feel like he's
being taken before CeeDee Lamb.
I know.
And CeeDee Lamb is better than Amari Cooper. It's so stupid.
They'll find out.
It's just so dumb.
But he's a guy I'm avoiding. And Dalvin Cook, to some extent, I'm avoiding right now. Just considering some of the players that you can get at. I think have similar upsides.
Who has a similar upside to Dalvin Cook who you can get later?
I feel like Kenyon Drake does.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely I think we can end the pod there. But the other reason you're avoiding Dalvin, of course, is he's going to fucking hold out. Right?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why.
All right. Well, to all the viewers on YouTube, thank you guys so much. Periscope, thank you guys so much. All the commenters, everybody here, especially Michael Yeager, just coming through with the massive comments there at the end. Love you, brother. If you guys can give us a thumbs up in YouTube, if you can rate, review, do all that stuff in the podcast, we appreciate it. I'll get this up today. Get these tools up at RosterWatch over the weekend. Love y'all. I'm Alex for the Trash.